Welcome back, everyone. Since we've started this session, the sun has gone down here in New Zealand. It's now pitch dark after it being light when we started, and I'm sure the sun has come up on those slightly shorter days in Ireland. So welcome back. That is, I know all of you would have enjoyed those sessions. Some really great discussions. It is slightly ironic that we had a couple of tech issues when we're talking about tech, but that's the way life can go sometimes. So thank you all for your patience, and particularly thank you to all of our MCs and panelists, both for their, most importantly, for their insights and great discussions. I was lucky enough to sort of pop in and out of some of those sessions, and some real highlights, some great discussion around just these definitions of AgriTech, and I guess people realizing that those definitions are actually they really change depending from your starting point and the position that you're coming from. The more I hear discussions, whether it's in the farmer group, whether it's in the researcher group, or in other areas, the discussions around, what is AgriTech and where is it at, you realize that much as there is great progress and some really great examples of technology adoption and technology making a difference, we're really only starting in this domain. There's still a lot of immature technologies out there. And that's great, because we want to see these things develop and have their real impact. I think we've had some really surprise progress in terms of where wearables are going, some discussion on that in both the farmer group and in the research group this evening, and just realizing that of course AgriTech is more than just the digital. It's a lot of wider applications which we're seeing both in New Zealand and in Ireland. I guess we started out by calling to attention the fact that there is so much similarity between New Zealand and Ireland, and the way we're farming and the way we're looking at innovations around farming, and yet there's quite a few differences as well. So on the investment front, we heard some insights around the role that public-private partnerships like AgriZero are playing here in New Zealand, and the partnerships that they're developing with Ireland and wider afield. So quite an interesting public-private approach that is working very well for New Zealand and has great potential. And then we hear from the Irish Strategic Investment Fund, and that really sort of nationally sovereign strategy approach to looking at both getting returns on investments, sure, but also having a solid impact for Ireland as a nation. And so those two related but different approaches are very interesting to see from an investment point of view. And of course, there's great potential for joining those things up in the same way that some of the research interests have joined up as well. We hear a lot about adoption and what that really means, and Ambassador Mallard opened us up by calling to attention sort of the difference in environments in terms of subsidies and support. I think it's a misnomer to say, whilst New Zealand doesn't have subsidies, it would be a misnomer to say that it doesn't have support. There's definitely significant support in New Zealand, both for the development and the adoption of technology. It's just a different environment to what happens inside the EU. Padraig, from your perspective, you're able to join some of these sessions. Are there any particular thoughts or comments that you have from the sessions that you saw this morning?
I think there's one quote which I know I'm going to use again from Ashley Campbell, and that was, we need to make farming more sexy, and AgriTech has a role to play in that. That's certainly something I'm going to be using again. I think I'm seeing a lot of commonalities across both ecosystems. Data seem to come up in 3 or 4 times throughout the sessions, and the common usage of that data, where farmers aren't inputting the same information 2 or 3 times across different platforms. We need to get that data sharing better. That's a real challenge for the industry, and I think that's something we need to work on in the future. It's not an easy thing to solve, and I think there's going to need to be cross-section support for that. It isn't just going to come from industry. There's going to need to be regulatory approval for the likes of that as well. In Europe, we have a bigger issue with GDPR, and trying to marry all of that up is going to be certainly a challenge. I'd also just like to thank all of the panelists and MCs today for giving their time, and I'd also like to thank AgTechNZ for pulling this webinar together. Your hard work shines through certainly throughout the entire event.
Thank you very much, Padraig. Yeah, and like you say, I think both of our shared job is to, continue bringing the sexiness to farming. That's definitely a role that I think AgriTech in general can do from many angles in terms of what it's in terms of the career options that are there in terms of developing AgriTech and what it means in terms of actual farming life. So a great note to have brought on there. I definitely echo the thanks to all of our panelists. And I guess I'd like to sort of express the continued intent to keep on collaborating with AgTech Ireland, to look at future events and future topics that we can that will be of shared interest to our communities, to continue meeting and hosting each other as we physically travel the globe, and maybe see some Irish companies coming down to field days next June, and some more New Zealand companies heading up to the National Ploughing Championships in September. AgriTech New Zealand will also be hosting the first AgriTech Unleashed conference. So our own conference next August on August 13th and 14th in New Zealand, where we'll be again extending conversations like this around both the progress and maturity around AgriTech, and very especially the collaborations around AgriTech. And those collaborations are international partnerships like this, and the company-to-company collaborations that will really drive full adoption and full use of technology, especially on key points like you call out, Padraig, on the data side of things. The day needs to start in Ireland. The day needs to finish in New Zealand. So we won't hold you any longer. We just want to say, Po Mario, Kakite, thank you, John. Good night. Have a good day, everyone in Ireland, and we look forward to seeing you at the next time. Thank you all.